Phil Keoghan, host and producer of The Amazing Race. This show has won 10 Emmys and counting for Best Reality Competition Program. I guess I want to know, what is your secret?
Well, I wish it was my secret. I'd have to say it's just an extraordinary group of people that have been able to come up with the magic ingredients to make it work. I don't really know how to answer the question other than say sometimes when you take a really wonderful idea, like the idea of Amazing Race, and then you put the right people in to that, create a group of people that have a real passion for that idea, and then those people bring their best to it, sometimes you end up with magic. You end up with the secret sauce. You end up with something that just works. I don't know. We've been very lucky.
Yeah. And, I was at this Emmy event last year, and I was overhearing an Emmy voter talking about this category, the Best Reality Competition category. And he said the reason he voted for you guys, last year is because he watched all 6 episodes that were submitted for the 6 nominated shows.
Yeah. Love
and
that.
he said basically the Amazing Race's submission was simply the best. He said he didn't care that you'd won so many times before. He just wanted to reward the best one.
Well, obviously we appreciate that he would think that way, that he's not measuring the quality of the show based on what it's been in previous years. He's just looking at that content, and the fact that he watched all 6 episodes, you said, that's wonderful, just to know that he is really taking his vote seriously. And that's why we're so honored, because we know that it is our peers who are looking at that content and assessing it, we believe fairly, and saying we think this content deserves the award. And it only makes us more motivated to continue to make changes and to make the content better. It doesn't make us sit back and think, oh, well, we've been acknowledged as being Emmy winners, now we can kind of sit back. We're constantly thinking, well, I guess now we have to make it even better. Year after year, our goal is to become better and better. And if you believe what Malcolm Gladwell says, which is it takes 10,000 hours to become really good at something, we've certainly, many of us have put in 10,000 hours into the show, and thankfully it's paid off. It's such a collaboration of an incredible group of people working for one common goal, which is to make a really strong 44 minutes of television.
Right. And that said, do you have any idea from what season you might submit an episode to Emmy judges this year? Because you have season 25 and 26 both in the running here.
Yeah. It's everybody talks, well, not everybody, but there's a group of producers within the show that put in their selections or best choices, and generally speaking, there's a consensus. There's an episode that stands out, and very rarely are we sort of going, well, should it be episode 5 or episode 3? We pretty much know what we think that one stands out above all the others. So there's not ever really a lot of fighting about which one it is, which is good. Which is good, because we don't want to create that kind of animosity. So,
right. Can you reveal which one you're leaning toward?
I'm not sure if I meant to.
Okay.
It's the really good one.
Yes. It's the Emmy-winning one.
Stands out above all the others. You know that.
The show continues to reinvent itself. This season, for example, you did the blind date experiment where half the teams, were already dating. The other half had never met each other. How do you think that twist played out over the season?
Well, it got us a lot of attention. And it was an idea that really came from fans who said, I'm single, I'd really love to meet somebody. Gosh, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, the first time I saw that as a suggestion from a fan might be 10 years ago. So there's always been a lot of, we listen to the fans, we really do. I mean, when I live tweet the show every week with Mallory and Christine, we are looking at the fans and what they're saying, and we're really making note, and you can see what they like and what they don't like. And believe me, in this day and age, you got to pay attention. And so this has been something that fans have talked about for a long, long time, and it got a lot of interest. Of course, with any new idea, there's always people who are naysayers who think, oh, this is not necessarily something that that we want to do. But we definitely try to listen to the fans and say, okay, let's try it. And it really was it really was one of those situations where we didn't know exactly what would happen, but we thought, let's try something new and different.
Right. It's really interesting that the final 3 teams were all blind date couples. What do you think that says, in terms of what it means to get success on the race? I guess you don't really need that special bond. You just need to be really good at the race.
I got to tell you, I mean, one of the successful elements of Amazing Race is that it is so unpredictable. And I did not see, and I don't think a lot of fans saw, that we were going to have, going into that final leg where we had 4 teams and only one of the 4 were from a pre-existing relationship, that we had these 3 blind date teams ultimately racing to the finish line. I never saw that coming. If there's one thing I know, it's that I'm never able to predict what works and what doesn't work on The Amazing Race, because every season is changing. And I think that's part of the success of the show. But I guess, there definitely, if you look at Jelani and Jenny, there was a tremendous compatibility in terms of more of a brother-sister relationship. There wasn't a romantic connection. Laura and Tyler, I don't know. I'm still convinced that they're going to end up getting married in a year.
Oh, yeah.
Could be wrong. But they were extremely respectful of each other and were absolutely, without doubt, the best performing team, even though they just met. And there was definitely an attraction there. Again, I'm not really sure if it's going to go any further, but I have a feeling it will one day. If you just think about, well, of course, then there was Haley and Blair, and that relationship you would have to describe at certain points during the race was not exactly didn't exactly look like a compatible team, but both smart and both. But it was just, to me, they were the most interesting team to watch all season. And what's interesting about fans, they all want to see Haley come back. Every single one of them. Like, if there's one racer they all want to see come back, it's Haley.
Right.
She was so interesting to watch. But at the end of the day, you got to give them credit. Somehow, they worked it out to be there in the final leg and racing to the finish line, and it's pretty extraordinary. I don't know what we learned from it, quite frankly, because I'm not sure if we did that whole thing all over again with 6 unattached couples, just threw them together against teams that had been together forever. I'm not sure we could come up with the same result. There's a lot of rolling of the dice there.
Right. And I think you said the best when you said it's so unpredictable.
Yeah.
When you go from one country to another, we always follow the teams, the cameras follow the teams, but are you sometimes on the same plane as the teammates, and are they allowed to talk to you if you are?
Absolutely. And I don't know if you've noticed in recent seasons, I've got to do these sort of play-by-plays or live updates where I'll actually be where they are and report on what's happening, who's in the lead, coming to a detour decision point or whatever. So yes, I am. And one of the hashtags that we have when we tweet is hashtag 12 shows at 21 days. It's a frantic race for everybody involved in production. And so as soon as that last team checks in, I am working out what's the fast. Well, I've actually worked it out before, but sometimes I'm having to cancel a flight and then go on a later flight. And that does mean sometimes that I don't get the chance to get ahead while they're resting at the pit stop. that I end up on the same flight as them, and then I'm literally racing them off the planes myself to get ahead to a particular location before them. So it's one of the reasons we did these live updates, because we thought it would be kind of fun for the audience to ask that very question that you've asked. And so we thought, well, why don't we just show that, yeah, I am actually out there at the same time with these teams, and that it is a race for us. And people love the live element, that I get one take to sort of do this update. There's no, you know, it's like they're here, they're coming to get the clue, and I have to do it. And for me,
I love that new little wrinkle that you have. I hope that continues in the upcoming seasons, because it's great seeing you more on the show, and that's one little area of where we can, you know, see more Phil. Fans want to see more Phil.
That's nice. Maybe if there was too much, then they would get sick of me. But the last episode, we pretty much shot every single stand-up live. So I came in on the plane with the teams in the last episode, and the very first place that they were doing something was at the AT&T Stadium. So I arrived there. Admittedly, they had to run out and get a cab. I ran out to a car that was waiting, was ready for me. I raced ahead. I got there 2 minutes before Mike and Rochelle got there. And if you remember, Mike ran out onto the field, and I did a live update as Mike was running onto the field all dressed up. And I got such a shock, if you look at that stand-up, because I didn't know that the fire and everything was going to ignite behind me and all that. Oh. And so I could kind of see go, you know, like this. And I figured, well, Mike's running towards whatever it is. It's freaking me out. And I guess it must be all right. But, yeah, we did pretty much every stand-up in the last episode as live. And as soon as I did it, boom, I ran out to the car. I rode ahead to the next place and waited for them. And I did live pieces right up to the selfie challenge at the end, the memory selfie challenge. As soon as Laura and Tyler got in there and they started working, and Sulani and Jenny started working, I raced then to the pit stop, met up with the 8 eliminated teams, many of whom I hadn't seen for 21 days, especially the first team. And so it's a quick sort of catch up, and then very shortly after, the first team ran in.
You know, over the 26 seasons, we've seen there's been some really unforgettable moments, like people proposing, people getting injured. But the moment that sticks with me more than any other is when Joyce, I think her name was Joyce, shaved her head at the Fast Forward.
Yeah, that was in season 7 at the Fast Forward in India. And yeah, so what do you remember of that moment? Why did it stick out to you?
First of all, I love how, you know, both of them had to shave their heads, but he was already bald. Yeah. So I was lucky. The fact that, yeah, I remember just the camera like staying on her face, and him being so helpless in that moment because he couldn't do anything. It was all about her.
And so supportive too, right? Like that great moment between a couple where it was really traumatic for her to take her hair off, and where he's standing by his woman, and in that moment where she's so vulnerable, and where the audience is able to see something so intimate and emotional, and they're allowing the audience to share in that moment. And that's why I really respect the racers. I wouldn't want to be under a microscope for 21 days like that. It takes a lot, I think, to just let yourself go and be true to what you're feeling and thinking. And yeah, that moment, absolutely, it's one of those really poignant moments in the history of the race. Just like if you remember in season 6, when Gus and Hera were on Gorée Island off the coast of Senegal, and Gorée Island was an island where African Americans were assembled, where African slaves were assembled before they came to America, and there was a walkway that they would take that led out to the ships that then took them to America as slaves. And Gus and Hera were a father and daughter African American team, And we slowed the show right down and had the team slow down and took a moment to place a rose there at that entrance to, well, the gateway to America for these African people who left so many years ago. And those are the moments that I really love on the race, when it has the ability to slow down and we can really say something and get people talking and go, hey, did you see that? Amazing. I can't believe, that that's where people were, and that's the last thing that they saw of Africa before they came to America. And, we have the ability to do that on our show. And that, to me, is what gives it the depth that has allowed it to survive for so long, because it really is based on in-depth storytelling. It's not just a whole bunch of challenges. It's much more than that.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm sure people come up to you all the time and ask for advice for how to get on the race. Is there a secret people can do to get on?
It's not really a secret. I always tell people, just be yourself. You in this interview, you're being yourself, and you're obviously good at what you do, and you're interesting, and that's why people watch you. It's hard to describe to someone why you might be attracted to somebody else, right? If you're looking for the perfect partner in life, how you describe what that perfect partner is. Sometimes you can't really describe it before you meet that person. And then you go, well, what I really like about my partner is that they're really caring, and they laugh at my jokes, and they think I'm funny even after I've told the same joke 500 times, and we love sharing food together, and we love travel. And so it's a little bit like that with our casting. We don't necessarily say, well, what we've got to have is a person who has this, 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 and this. It's just when we see somebody who's captivating, engaging, and interesting, we know, Kent and Vixen, they would be interesting on this show. Let's take them around the world. Or David and Mary, or Charlotte and Myrna, or the Cowboys. The Cowboys, probably one of the most talked about teams ever in the history of the Amazing Race, or the Globetrotters, or they just stand out. So I just tell people, look, be yourself. And if the room, there's a group of us sitting in that room, think you are inherently interesting, then trust me, you'll get picked. But don't put on a show. Don't try to be something that you think we're looking for. Just be yourself. There's lots of interesting people out there, and the types of people that we've never had on the show before. I was just going to say, I think that, and I'm sure race fans would have to agree, we've had the most diverse cast of any reality show in the history of reality shows. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the range has been so diverse. People who have, from Luke, we put a deaf person on a show. We learn about that. We see that relationship with his mother, Margie, and we've had somebody who's an amputee before. We've had a small person, black and white and tall and short and rich and poor and employed and not employed and fat and not so fat, and such a range, and their skills and their background is so different. A lot of shows are about people doing a particular thing. They all dance really well, they all sing really well, they all design really well, they all make clothes really well. These people really have nothing in common at all. One lives in Montana and the other one lives out on the East Coast, and they couldn't be more different, and they'd never interact in everyday life. We bring all of that together on Amazing Race, and we end up with something really interesting to watch.
Right, it's like the everyman show. Anyone can watch the show and feel a connection to a certain team, and then the person, my next door neighbor, will feel a connection to a different team. So that's why I think that's part of the success of the show.
Yeah, America is becoming more and more diverse, and I think all the more reason why we try to keep the cast diverse. And we listen to fans, and some of the fans will say, how come this group of people are more represented, or this group are? We're never going to be able to please everybody, because there's so much diversity in America, but we really do make an effort. We are trying to be diverse, and again, we don't just go after a group of people because it represents diversity. We look for the most interesting people, the most captivating, and the most telegenic. And it just so happens that by doing that, making that our mandate, those people are culturally diverse and diverse, inherently diverse, you know?
I'm interested to get your thoughts on this. After 15 years, Fox has canceled American Idol. Did you ever think you'd see the day where The Amazing Race outlived Idol?
No. I wasn't sure Amazing Race was even going to go past season 1. I wasn't even sure when we started shooting the show whether we would actually get through the first season. It seemed like such a behemoth in the beginning. It was so big. We were in Songwe village in Africa, having completed one leg, and we all looked at each other like, well, this is not a studio show. This is something that has not been done before, that is a logistical nightmare. And if that's leg 1, how are we going to survive what we, in season 1, it was 13 episodes, 13 legs. How are we going to survive 13 legs of this? This is insane. We really did look at each other and think, what have we done? It was like somebody had opened Pandora's box or something. You know, it was like we let some crazy thing out of the genie bottle. I don't know. It was we did get through it. Never knew if we were going to get to a second season. So no, I just felt like a show like American Idol was way more manageable because it's in a studio. You have your own world in there. You light it. You cool it to 69 degrees because Ryan doesn't want to sweat in his jackets. And it was such a success, Idol, you know, and got such attention from an audience, and for so long. No, I did not see that a show like ours shot around the world. I mean, it couldn't be more different. It's like the antithesis of being in a studio. Our studio is a world that, you know, if the sun, if all of a sudden we've got thunderstorms and lightning and trains get canceled, planes get canceled, there's some political unrest in the streets, it affects us in a way that really doesn't affect any other reality show that I can think of, quite frankly.
And final question, can you give us any hints or teases about season 27?
I would describe season 27 as like a real character season, meaning quite the cast is really a little different than anything we've ever had. There's some character types there that we've not had before on the show. So I think there'll be a little bit of I think we've got some great matchups with people where I think we're going to see some fun banter between, in a different way from last season, which was, you know, a dating show and where it was about couples. This could be an interesting mix. I think it's really about that mix, the way the cast just came together, just the way it came together. It was just interesting. Some people that I think people are going to be really like, wow, I got to watch what they're going to do because they're kind of unpredictable.
Well, thanks a lot for talking to us today, Phil. Best of luck at the Emmys coming up.
Would you like me to tell you what the episode was that was submitted?
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Why do you want to know it?
We like to kind of put ourselves in the heads of the voters, so we like to actually watch the submissions and kind of compare them and contrast, because we do predictions at Gold Derby. So we like to.
I'll tell you. So it's in season 25, the 5th episode in Morocco.
Okay.
It's a goodie.
Well, I'm gonna stop this chat now and go watch that one.
Well, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot. Have a great day.
Yeah, really nice talking to you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.